Have you ever watched her fall for the man who didn't care, the man who texted her back 3 hours later, who didn't flinch when she pulled away, who never tried to impress her, and somehow she chased him? Meanwhile, you were kind, you listened, you made her feel safe, you showed her how much you cared, and in return, she disappeared. What if I told you she didn't leave because you were too nice? She left because she felt nothing, because comfort without mystery is dead weight, because in the game of attraction, certainty is poison, and a man without edge is a man without gravity. The truth? She fell for the Machiavellian man, not because he was cruel, but because he was calculated, because, while you were focused on her feelings, he was focused on power. He understood something most men don't. Women don't chase love, they chase value. And in today's world, value is no longer about devotion, it's about perception. She doesn't want a man who needs her. She wants a man she can't quite figure out. And that is the secret. In this video, we're going to expose the twisted truth about why women are drawn to the man who doesn't try. We'll break down the ancient psychological warfare of attraction. We'll reveal the silent power that draws her in without a single word. Forget what you were told. Kindness without power is invisible. Obsession repels. And Machiavelli saw it coming centuries ago. Let's begin. Let's get something straight. In love, effort doesn't always equal results. In fact, for most men, the more you try, the faster she pulls away. You think you're building connection. She sees a man chasing approval. You believe your honesty shows confidence. She senses neediness. You open up your heart. She quietly closes hers. And here's the Machiavellian truth no one told you. Power is not in how much you give. It's in how much you withhold. The man she desires doesn't convince. He doesn't explain. He doesn't perform love. He simply exists with such unbothered certainty that it disorients her. And that confusion? That's attraction. She becomes curious. She starts wondering why she can't control him, why she can't read him, why he doesn't respond like the others. This is emotional leverage, and it's exactly what the Machiavellian man uses to his advantage. Machiavelli didn't teach men to be cold. He taught them to be strategic, to understand that people don't respect what's easily available, and women, whether they admit it or not, are pulled towards the man who feels like he has options. When you orbit her, she places you below her. When you pursue, she becomes the prize. But when you move through life with a silent indifference, when you show that you can walk away at any moment, she feels something modern men rarely trigger anymore: respect. And respect is the gateway to real desire. That's why she fell for him. Not because he was better, not because he was richer, not even because he was more attractive, but because he wasn't trying. And in a world full of men giving their soul away for a reply, the one who doesn't chase becomes the one she can't forget. This doesn't mean be cruel. It doesn't mean lie or manipulate. It means you stop performing for love and start embodying power. So while you were sending paragraphs, he sent silence. While you were changing to match her vibe, he stayed grounded in his own. While you worried what she thought, he made her wonder who he really was. And that's the difference. She doesn't chase the man who gives her everything. She chases the one who gives her nothing she can control. Let's cut through the fantasy. She didn't fall for the guy who gave more. She fell for the man who gave less, but meant more. While you were opening up, expressing feelings, and hoping your vulnerability would be seen as strength, he was watching, waiting, calculating. He knew what Machiavelli warned centuries ago. It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose. Not because love is weak, but because unreciprocated love is submission. You didn't offer love. You offered yourself. He offered a frame. You gave her your attention freely, responded quickly, texted first, explained your intentions. He left space, created mystery, delivered only what maintained tension. That's Machiavellian Principle 1. Appear weak when you are strong, so they let their guard down. He wasn't emotionally needy, but he let her think she had the upper hand. And just when she relaxed, he pulled back. You kept giving. She got used to your presence. There was no chase, no tension, just availability. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who is always there. Machiavellian Principle 2. Punish quickly. He didn't explain his boundaries. He enforced them. The moment she disrespected him, crossed a line, tested his frame, he vanished. No drama, no closure, just consequence. You forgave instantly. You rationalized. You thought understanding her mood would win her affection. But she didn't feel your power. She felt your compliance. And compliance is not attractive. Machiavellian Principle 3. Reward slowly. He didn't praise her every move. He wasn't dazzled by her beauty. When he complimented her, it landed with weight, because she had to earn it. Meanwhile, your affection became background noise, predictable, dull. Here's where it stings. She valued him because he valued himself more than her validation. He never begged, he never chased. Why? Because he understood the ultimate Machiavellian law. It is better to be the chooser than the chosen. You positioned her as the prize. He made himself the mountain. She had to climb him. She didn't choose him because he was safer. She chose him because he was stronger, rarer, harder to understand, and impossible to control. Machiavelli taught rulers to master perception. He said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." And this man, he engineered perception. He acted like the prize, so she saw him as one. You thought you were building connection. He was building leverage. That's why she ran towards him and faded away from you. You walked into the room already doubting yourself. He walked in like he owned it. That's not just confidence. That's framing, and it's everything. She didn't fall for the one who over-explained his feelings. She fell for the man who never had to, the one who didn't chase her validation because he defined the terms of engagement. Machiavellian Principle 4, control perception, and you control behavior. He didn't present himself as worthy. He let her wonder if she was. While you were trying to impress, he was creating intrigue. Let's be blunt. You walked in thinking, "I hope she likes me." He walked in thinking, "Let's see if she's worth my energy." That's why her behavior shifted. That's why she leaned towards him. Here's the truth most men don't want to admit. Attraction flows towards power, and power is about leverage, not need. You gave up your frame the moment you tried to win her over. He kept his frame by never making her the center of it. When she pulled away, you panicked. He pulled back further, not because he didn't care, but because he understood Machiavellian Principle 5. If you let them see your emotions, you give them power over you. So he stayed still, unmoved. You thought your emotional openness showed depth, but to her, it felt like fragility, like she could move you with a cold text or a delayed reply. He was unshakable. That's what made him magnetic. You said, "I just want to be real." He said nothing, and that silence haunted her. She tested him. With silence, mood swings, games. You leaned in, trying to fix it. He leaned out, forcing her to chase his frame. And here's where most men fail. They mirror a woman's emotions instead of setting a direction. You texted back with, "Are you okay?" He left it on read. Not to hurt, but to signal sovereignty. Because in every interaction, someone leads and someone follows. You followed. He led. And she followed him because leadership, even in subtle forms, is attractive. Machiavelli wrote, "The one who adapts least is the one who controls the terms." You adapted constantly. Your tone, your plans, your self-respect. He bent for no one. And that stillness became the anchor she couldn't shake. Remember, the more effort you put into keeping her, the more she believed she was above you. But he gave just enough to keep her curious, not enough to feel owned. Power isn't in how much you say, it's in what you're willing to withhold. And while you gave everything hoping for connection, he gave nothing he couldn't afford to lose. That's Machiavellian mastery, and that's why she chased him. Not because he was cruel, but because he never broke frame. Let's destroy a lie you've believed your whole life. She doesn't fall for the best man. She falls for the man with the strongest frame. You could be more intelligent, more loving, more generous. You could pour out your soul in every text. You could do everything right. And still, she'll choose the man who never chased her. Why? Because attraction isn't about fairness. It's about perception of value. And the man with the strongest frame, the one who makes her feel uncertain, is the one she feels most drawn to. This is brutal truth. And if you don't get it, you'll keep losing to men who seem colder, more distant, more indifferent. But they're not winning because they don't care. They're winning because they care more about their reality than they do about her approval. Let me explain. A strong frame means this. Your thoughts, your boundaries, your values, they are immovable. You're not emotionally swayed by compliments. You're not emotionally destroyed by criticism. You are centered, and she can feel it. Most men collapse their frame in two ways. They over-pursue. Constant messages, over-explaining, giving before anything is earned. They overshare, mistaking vulnerability for connection, bleeding emotions in the hope of being seen. Both are symptoms of weakness, because they reveal that her attention dictates your behavior. Women instinctively test for frame. They challenge your opinions. They shift moods. They withdraw affection, not to be cruel, but to see if you collapse. Every test is asking one thing. Can I trust this man to remain himself under pressure? If you fold, she loses respect. If you cling, she loses attraction. If you doubt yourself, she doubts you more. But when you stay calm, when you refuse to be moved, a different reaction happens. Her mind starts to race. Why isn't he reacting? Why does he seem unbothered? What does he know that I don't? This curiosity creates polarity, and polarity creates desire. The strong frame man doesn't argue. He doesn't prove. He doesn't defend his worth. He simply exists with conviction. He'll listen, but he won't be manipulated. He'll care, but he won't self-abandon. He'll give attention, but only when it aligns with his mission. That's the man who owns the room without raising his voice. The one who draws her in with silence, not noise. Here's what you must accept. She'll never love you for how much you break yourself to please her. She'll love you for how powerfully you stand without her. Because when a man chooses himself over emotional chaos, she feels something she never gets from weak men: security. And that changes everything. Let's break one of the most brutal truths wide open. You gave her the kingdom before she earned the keys. He made her work to see what was behind the gates. From the very beginning, you showed her your heart, your history, your hurt. You thought openness would win her loyalty, but she didn't want to be handed value. She wanted to be in the presence of it. And Machiavelli would have told you, men ought to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries. Women too. Give too much too soon, and they will resent you for it. You thought your generosity would make you unforgettable, but it made you replaceable. Because in her mind, if it came easy, it must not have been worth much. He did the opposite. He gave her just enough to stay intrigued, and held the rest in reserve. She'd get attention, but never total access. She'd get warmth, but never control. That's Machiavellian Principle 6. Reward slowly, punish quickly. Always keep the power balance tilted in your favor. You rewarded bad behavior with empathy. She disrespected your time. You said, "It's okay." She ghosted for days. You welcomed her back. She flirted with others. You convinced yourself not to overreact. But he punished immediately. With silence, withdrawal, detachment. He didn't lecture. He didn't plead. He simply vanished from her life, emotionally or physically, and let the absence sting. That absence rewired her perception. She realized his presence wasn't guaranteed. It was a privilege. Meanwhile, your constant reassurance became noise. It didn't make her feel loved. It made her feel superior. Why? Because Machiavellian lovers never let someone feel they've won the game. They shift the goalposts. They create distance. They make you earn your place in their world. That's what keeps a woman obsessed. He didn't show his full hand. He left cards face down. He wasn't rude. He was calculated. He wasn't cold. He was disciplined, because he knew the power of withholding, and you didn't. You gave her your time, energy, emotions, like someone trying to prove worth. But he never had to prove anything, and that made her ask the question that changed everything. What does he see in me? The moment she had to earn his attention, he flipped the entire dynamic. You were always available. He was occasionally generous, and it meant more every time. This is how she fell for him, not because he was better looking, richer or smarter, but because he understood the ancient psychology of power. Give slowly, create longing, preserve mystery. You showed her the final chapter on the first date. He made her earn every page, and that's why she never put the book down. Now you understand. She didn't fall for him because he was the nicest or the most romantic. She fell for him because he never flinched. He never gave himself away before she proved she could carry it. He never traded his sovereignty for her attention. He knew that in this world, power attracts, need repels. You were taught that love means openness, that you should express, explain, and expose your soul, early, often, fully. But no one told you this. She doesn't fall in love with transparency. She falls in love with tension, with mystery, with containment, with a man whose value doesn't rise or fall based on her moods. She fell for him because he embodied Machiavelli's most dangerous principle. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And he was both, because she admired his boundaries. She feared losing his attention, and she respected him, because he never collapsed to gain her. You want love? Start with respect. You want loyalty? Start with mystery. You want attraction? Start by holding your center. No matter how beautiful she is, she'll test you. She'll pull back. She'll provoke you. Not because she's evil, but because she needs to feel your edges. And the moment you drop them, she drops you. So stand your ground. Speak less. Reveal slowly. And walk away if she disrespects your value. Because the man who can walk away, he's the man she remembers. If this hit home, share it with a brother who needs to wake up. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and support the mission using the link in the description below. We're not just making content. We're building men who cannot be broken. Stay sharp, stay sovereign.